She called 911 over my land and had no clue I'm the new sheriff in town. HOA Karen called the cops, but didn't know I'm the new sheriff. Part 1, the spike strip, and the $500 fine that backfired when the cop yelled, "That's trespassing," while standing on my porch. I knew it was over for Karen. She had no clue I'd just been sworn in as the new sheriff of this county. And honestly, I wasn't in the mood to explain it nicely. Let me back up a bit. 3 days earlier, I pulled into my ranch, a 15-acre property I've worked, patrolled, and protected for years, when I felt a sudden jolt and heard a nasty pop. Front left tire, shredded. I stepped out expecting a nail or a pothole. Instead, I found an actual police-style spike strip across my own driveway. Beside it, a stick with a handwritten sign, "Private HOA Enforcement. Do not enter at speeds above 5 miles per hour." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so insanely stupid that I couldn't tell if I should be furious or impressed. The HOA in this area had always been annoying. Fines for dumb stuff like humming too loud while mowing. But this was next level, and everyone in town already knew who was behind it. Karen Miller, self-declared queen of the HOA board, and clipboard crusader. She once fined a guy $150 because his dog barked twice in one day. I drove around the spike strip on my ruined tire, trying not to let rage take the wheel. But before I could even check the damage, I saw it, taped to my front door. An official-looking yellow envelope. Notice of violation. Reckless driving on shared HOA path. I live on a ranch. There is no cul-de-sac, no shared road, just a private gravel stretch from the highway to my barn. I stormed inside and called the HOA hotline. Karen answered. "Oh, it's you," she said, like she'd just sipped sour milk. "We've had multiple complaints about speeding near Lot 9. The board voted. You owe a $500 fine." Karen, Lot 9 is my equipment barn. There's no one else around it. The bylaws allow for shared use of entrance paths. And we voted. You weren't there. Not my fault. Then she hung up. My hands trembled. My land, my driveway, was being claimed by lunatics. The next morning, I walked my eastern fence line. And there they were. Little pink flags, leading from the HOA side, straight into my property. They were labeling my pasture as a future community area. Were they planning a picnic zone on my land? I went to pull them out. But, like a villain in a bad horror movie, Karen appeared, phone already recording. "Do not touch HOA-approved markings. You're on notice." "Karen, you are 10 feet inside my property. Leave. Now." "This is shared right-of-way now," she smirked. "You can't bully me off public land." Then she dialed 911. "Yes, I need assistance. There's a man threatening me on HOA property." 2 squad cars arrived within minutes. The first officer looked at me, then at Karen, then back at me. "Sir, may I ask what's going on?" I calmly handed him a copy of my land deed, clearly showing that everything, including Lot 9 and that road, was mine. Karen screamed in the background. "He sped down the road!" He gravel-sprayed my dog. The second officer tried not to laugh. "Ma'am," he asked, "do you have any legal proof this is HOA land?" She froze. We voted! That's how HOA works." The first cop shook his head. "That's not how trespassing laws work." Karen started sputtering. "He broke the rules. You have to cite him. He drives a military-style truck." The cop raised an eyebrow. "Is there even an active HOA here?" Karen hesitated. "Well, not currently, but I operate under legacy guidelines. So, no board, No rules. Then he's free to park and you're on his land. Karen's jaw dropped. But the best part? I hadn't even told her yet. That I was about to become her worst nightmare. Because tomorrow morning, I'd be wearing a badge. Part 2. The barn break-in and the celebration clause scam. That night I was still fuming. My tire was wrecked. My property was flagged. And Karen had escalated from clipboard queen to full-blown HOA tyrant. But the next day, it got worse. Way worse. I was checking my security cams when I spotted something odd. A white SUV rolling up the driveway. Again. Out stepped Karen, in heels, clipboard in one hand, smugness in the other, and trailing behind her, a woman in all black, Bluetooth headset, measuring tape in hand. They strutted into my pasture like they were scouting a wedding venue, which, apparently, they were. "This spot's perfect for golden hour shots," the planner chirped. Karen nodded. "Plenty of room for a reception tent and the altar will face the trees." I stepped outside. "Excuse me, what the hell are you doing?" Karen didn't even flinch. She waved her clipboard like a royal decree. "We're surveying for the Miller wedding. The HOA passed a temporary usage variance. This land is ideal for community celebration overflow." My jaw dropped. "This is my land," she smiled sweetly. "Correction? Underused HOA adjacent land. The board voted this morning. Check your email." I did. There it was. A notice claiming an obscure clause in the HOA charter gave them rights to seize temporarily neglected green zones for community joy. I was stunned, then angry, then very curious, because if Karen was that bold, what else had she done? I logged into the HOA portal, pulled up old filings, and that's when it clicked. None of this was legal. The HOA was defunct. No quorum, no valid leadership. Karen was forging votes, using old templates, and weaponizing fake rules. But it didn't end there. That night, as I reviewed camera footage from my barn, I caught something even worse. Karen, inside, with 3 HOA board members, one of them pointing at my workbench. "We'll have to clear that if the catering truck needs to park here," Karen replied. "Don't worry, he's lazy. He barely uses this side." That barn held my grandfather's tools. It was sacred. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. It was personal. And tomorrow, she'd find out just how personal things were about to get. When I showed up, in uniform. Part 3, the brunch ambush, and Karen's viral fruit salad faceplant. The morning after the barn break-in, I had one mission: expose Karen. The HOA was hosting a community brunch in the park, folding chairs, fake smiles, and lukewarm egg casserole. Karen, as usual, was center stage. She tapped the mic like she was announcing a royal wedding. "I'd like to thank everyone for approving the new event site for my daughter's wedding. It will be the first HOA blessed marriage under our celebration clause." Applause. Cheers. Even a few woo-hoos from her loyalists. And then, I stepped forward. "That clause is illegal," I said calmly. "You can't seize land for better Instagram lighting?" Karen's smile twitched. "Then maybe you should have shown up to vote." I raised my voice just enough. "That vote was forged. The clause doesn't exist. And by the way, you broke into my barn." Gasps. Karen's face went pale. "You have no proof," she snapped. So I pulled out my phone and played the security footage. Karen, inside my barn, voice clear as day. "Don't worry, he's too lazy to notice." A neighbor gasped. "Wait, that's his barn." Karen lunged, trying to snatch my phone. She missed, slipped, and landed face first in the fruit salad. Phones came out instantly. It went viral before I even got home. But Karen, she wasn't done yet. That afternoon, I found a notice taped to my door. Unauthorized surveillance on community property. $1,200 fine. She was fining me for filming my own barn. That night, I got a knock. It was Craig, a quiet neighbor, nervous. Karen asked me to sign something last week, said it was just for mowing rights, but it was a form saying you'd abandoned your land. I'm sorry. I didn't know. My stomach dropped. Karen was building a case to steal my ranch. She had no idea that tomorrow she'd be answering to the law. Part 4. The cameras, the cops, and the badge reveal. At dawn, I was installing trail cams along the back fence when I saw it. Flashing lights, 2 squad cars, creeping up my gravel drive like something serious was about to go down. And trailing right behind them, Karen, flailing her arms like she was conducting an orchestra of chaos. "That's him!" she screeched before the cops even stepped out. "He's back on private HOA land. He's threatening me and my dog and spying with surveillance equipment." The younger officer looked confused. The older one looked tired. "Sir?" he asked. "Mind telling us what's going on?" I nodded, calm as could be. "I'm installing security cameras on my property because this HOA board has been trespassing and planting wedding flags without permission." Karen cut in like a banshee with a Bluetooth. "He's intimidating the entire neighborhood. That fence is a hate crime against community unity." The second officer actually snorted. "That's not how hate crimes work." The older cop turned to me. "Do you have documentation?" Without a word, I handed over a fat folder, land deeds, survey maps, time-stamped cam footage, and a notarized affidavit from Craig. He flipped through it, paused, then pointed at a frame on my phone. "Is that her in your barn?" I nodded. Karen's face blanched. She panicked. "It's edited. He faked it all. You can't trust someone who drives a truck like that." I swear, even my truck seemed offended. The cop exhaled. "Even if this was a public road, which it's not, her actions still count as trespassing. And your documents? Check out." Karen wasn't done. "He threatened me," he said, and I quote, "Set one more foot on my land and you'll regret it." The younger cop raised a brow. "Did he say that on camera? In front of witnesses?" Karen blinked. "Everyone knows how he talks." "That's not evidence," he replied. "That's gossip." Then he turned back to me. "Sir, just for clarity, why do you think this keeps escalating?" I smiled. "Because tomorrow, I'm being sworn in as the new county sheriff." Silence. You could hear the wind flick a leaf across the gravel. The younger officer blinked. "Wait, you're the guy?" I nodded. He grinned. "We heard a new sheriff was coming. Didn't know it was you. You're the one who caught that Ridgefield zoning fraud, right?" Karen's mouth dropped open, then closed, then opened again. No sound came out. First time I'd seen her speechless. The cop turned to her slowly. "Ma'am, you do realize you've been calling the cops on the sheriff?" Her jaw twitched. "He's lying. He's bluffing. That's not a real badge." I let my ID card slip from my shirt pocket. Just a bit. The older cop leaned in, read it. Karen saw it too. She gasped, slapped a hand to her mouth, and screamed, "This is harassment! You can't use law enforcement for personal vengeance!" "I haven't done anything yet," I said, cool and steady. "But you've broken property laws, submitted fraudulent documents, and filed 3 false reports this week." Karen spun on her heel, stormed off, but not before shrieking, "I'll have your badge taken. I know people. I went to school with the mayor's cousin." The officers shared a look, like they'd just walked out of a sitcom. I wasn't laughing yet, because that night, I found something new: hidden cameras, disguised as solar lights, mounted to my trees. Karen had wired surveillance equipment onto my land. That was the last straw. Tomorrow, we weren't just talking about fines. We were talking felonies. And I wasn't just a landowner anymore. I was the law. Part 5. The uniform, the meeting, and Karen's handcuffs. By 8 a.m., it was official. I stood in the county courthouse, freshly sworn in, badge on my chest, name stitched onto my uniform, and every deputy in the room nodding like they knew what kind of storm I was about to clean up. My first stop? Records. I pulled every single document Karen had ever filed as head of the HOA, and the results? Whew. Unauthorized amendments, missing signatures, shady vote counts, and contracts funneled through her cousin's landscaping company. But the worst part? It wasn't just Karen. She had a whole crew, board members who signed off on these fake infractions, issued false fines, and let her run wild with made-up authority. I had the paper trail. I had the footage. And now, I had the power, but I wasn't going to her door. Not yet. Because that afternoon, Karen had scheduled a closed HOA board meeting at the clubhouse. Uninvited, of course. I showed up anyway. In uniform. The moment I stepped through the doors, the room fell silent. Karen was already seated up front, smug as ever, until she saw me. Her face dropped like a Jenga tower in an earthquake. "Excuse me," she snapped. "This is a private HOA session. Law enforcement is not permitted unless summoned." I smiled, calm as ever. "I live here. I'm a resident. And your newly sworn-in county sheriff." Murmurs rippled through the room. Someone in the back actually clapped. Karen's hands trembled slightly. "You can't just come in here and start intimidating people." "Actually," I said, pulling out a thick manila folder, "I can come in here and read off charges." I slapped the evidence on the table one by one. Falsified violation notices, forged voting records, trespassing documentation, camera footage, and a list of every single person she tried to fine using fake authority. Karen gasped. This is a setup. You're targeting me because I care about standards." "No," I said, locking eyes with her. "I'm arresting you because you broke the law." She tried to bolt, actually bolted for the door, but 2 deputies were already waiting outside. They stepped in. "Karen Miller, you are under arrest for illegal surveillance, falsifying documents, and impersonating a government authority." "You can't do this to me," she screamed, hands flailing. "I am the HOA." The cuffs clicked. She shrieked louder. "This clipboard is county property." They let her out, still ranting, her loyalists quietly sliding away in their folding chairs like rats off a sinking ship. I turned back to the room. "As of now," I said, "the HOA board is under investigation. All enforcement powers are frozen pending full review." One guy shouted, "So wait! I can paint my garage door blue now?" Laughter burst out like a dam cracking open. Someone asked if pets could bark again. Another whispered, "I knew Karen was crazy, but felony crazy?" And me? I just walked out slowly, clipboard in my hand this time, because for the first time in months, order wasn't being barked from a folding chair. It was being carried on a badge. Final part and epilogue. The USB drive. The real power. And what Karen never saw coming. You'd think that after Karen was hauled off in handcuffs, screaming about clipboards and decorative law, things would finally go quiet. But in this town, corruption doesn't end with a clipboard. It just hides behind another smile. The very next morning, a plain white envelope slid under my office door. No return address. Inside, a single USB, labeled, "Karen wasn't alone." I plugged it into my county-issued laptop, half expecting a prank. But what I saw was worse than anything Karen ever did on her own. Surveillance footage, voice memos, meeting recordings, all secretly captured. In one, Karen was heard bargaining with contractors for HOA kickbacks. In another, she flat out says, "Don't worry, Bob will backdate the permit. Len owes me favors." That's right, Bob, the treasurer who fined people for having too red of a truck. Len, the grumpy war vet who everyone thought hated Karen, turns out he was promised discounted meds and a new fence if he voted her way. Karen wasn't the engine. She was just the hood ornament. This whole HOA, it was a front, a suburban racket run by neighbors who valued power over peace. So I did what sheriffs do. I called an emergency meeting. This time, at the community center, open to everyone. By 6 p.m., the place was packed wall to wall, standing room only. Kids on the floor, popcorn in laps, cell phones already recording. I stepped to the front and said one thing. This isn't about paint colors anymore. This is about power. Then I hit play. Karen's voice filled the room. "Just get the permit through Bob. Len will go along. He owes me. And if anyone asks, say it's for safety." The room exploded. Gasps, shouts. One guy literally ripped up an HOA fine and tossed it in the air like confetti. Mrs. Henderson, quiet, kind, always in her garden, stood up, holding a crumpled violation notice. "They made me rip up my sunflower bed," she said, voice shaking. "Said it violated shade alignment." Another neighbor yelled, "I got fined for a blue lawn chair." And then I made the final announcement. Effective immediately. The HOA is dissolved, all current fines void, all property boundaries restored, and all future disputes will go through my office. Not some laminated pamphlet full of lies. The cheer that went up, you could hear it 2 blocks away. Karen's loyalists scattered. Bob, gone before the meeting ended. Len slipped out the back. But me, I stayed, answered every question, ate 3 slices of freedom cake someone brought, even posed for a picture with a kid wearing a shirt that said, "I survived HOA Karen." That night, I sat on my porch with my dog, a cold drink, and no flyers duct taped to my mailbox. But just as I was about to head in, headlights. A black SUV rolled up to the end of my driveway, paused, then reversed down the road and disappeared. No plates. I didn't flinch, because I wasn't just some guy with land anymore. I was the law, and I had a town behind me now. The next morning, a letter arrived. "You've been warned once. HOA power doesn't die. It waits." But I just smiled, because clipboards don't scare me anymore. And as for Karen, she might have thought she ran the neighborhood, but she never understood one thing. Power without respect is just noise. And in this county, the only thing louder than noise is justice.